Hiya, subscribers. I think when you're a writer, especially if you want to be a published writer, you should write and read as much as you can. Specifically, you should write what you love and read a variety of stories as a method of teaching. This is how you use a story as a lesson. I'm a writer myself, and as you all know, I'm also a big fan of movies, specifically those in the fantasy, horror, and superhero genre. I love stories that can take you to another world with characters you instantly fall in love with, so much that it feels like you're on the journey with them. Horror is my favorite genre for this reason, as I believe with this style of storytelling, there are so many unique and innovative ways to take the audience through your narrative. Whether that be through the dreamlike world of A Nightmare on Elm Street, exploring human horror like in The Shining, or a simple minimalistic thriller like Halloween. There are many ways to use this style to affect the reader or the viewer. The genre itself is particularly effective as the intent for a horror story is to incite fear into the audience, so you may be surprised to hear that my favorite movie of 2017 was It. Stephen King's It is one of his most highly regarded works, and it tells the story of the Losers Club, as they battle the mysterious demon entity known only as It, which enjoys taking on the form of Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Whereas the book tells the story from the perspective of the losers as adults and children moving back and forth, this particular movie decided to focus on the children, with a follow-up film based on the adult's life to release later next year. Having been a massive fan of Stephen King's work my entire life, I could not wait to see It. And after the teaser trailer, I couldn't have been more excited. I was even more so when my screening was packed and everyone was there to celebrate this movie. A horror movie being treated like an event, this was awesome. However, when any horror movie comes out, especially new ones, you're always going to get the people who tell you that it's not scary and therefore doesn't qualify as a horror. Did this new version of It scare me? Yes, but not in the way you would think. It simply used the theme of fear for the storytelling and focused on the characters. To start with this, you just need to look at its opening scene, which we're all aware of when little Georgie Denborough loses his paper boat down a sewer drain and comes face to face with It, only to then become the monster's first victim in the movie. I would honestly put this scene up there with other great horror openings like Jaws or Halloween, because I think it's quite effective in what it sets out to do. Director Andre Muschietti accepted that there was no way to adapt all of Stephen King's novel into a feature film, but instead he chose to tell the story based on the emotional journey it took him on when he read the novel. Let's examine a moment in the opening scene which looks at this. When Georgie runs down the street in the rain, playing with his boat, the music is very whimsical and it has that childlike wonder to it. However, look what happens as soon as Georgie gets hit and the boat leers off from his control. The score gets darker, more haunting, and builds to a climax where the boat ends up in the sewer, and we know how this ends up as Georgie comes face to face with its favorite form, Pennywise the Dancing Clown. The following interaction with the two says a lot about the character dynamics, Georgie showing off his fearful yet curious side of a child as he talks with the clown, whereas Pennywise is using this curiosity to lure him in. The scene made a point to know that Georgie's fear is losing his relationship with his brother, something most siblings can relate to. Pennywise uses this fear by reminding him that Bill will indeed kill him if he doesn't come back with the boat. And it's Georgie giving in to this irrational childlike fear that ultimately results in him becoming clown food. Whilst the scene might not come off as scary depending on the kind of horror fan you are, I can't deny its effectiveness in using the theme of fear as a way to set up its characters. In an essay published by Marshall Peace, he states, "One of the major driving forces of humanity is the duality of fear and curiosity. What are we afraid of, and what are we curious about? We fear chaos, but we are also curious about it. We fear the unknown, but we also want to make its mysteries known. The polarization is, I think, of profound experience to us as individuals and to humanity in general. It's this exact quote that makes me roll my eyes at the people who say that Pennywise is too scary looking and thus would draw kids away. You would think that as an adult, but it's not uncommon to believe that a child may be more accepting of fantastical stuff they can't explain. And whilst Georgie in this scene shows off that he's a little bit scared, ultimately it comes off from curiosity. Simply put, we fear what we don't understand. Georgie asking questions in this scene shows him attempting to make sense of the whole situation in a way to combat his fear. But we know that doesn't end so well for him. The movie's theme of fear doesn't stop there. Throughout all of it, Pennywise uses fear to intimidate the Losers Club and emotionally torture them. Simple things like preying on Eddie's fear of germs, Richie's immense fear of clowns, and Mike's trauma of the tragedy that plagued his life. Bill's arc is about him accepting the fate of his brother. It mocks him with both what he wants and what he fears. Bill wishes to be reunited with Georgie for the whole movie, not wanting to face the fear of him being dead. It shows his brother decaying about midway through the film with the repeated taunting of in this case referring to how it is giving him the chance to come join Georgie and float with him. Once Bill discovers Georgie's raincoat after they've defeated it, he accepts his fear and moves on. The other character who gets to have a major arc is Beverly Marsh, with her fear being the lack of control around her own life. Outside the house, she smiles and happily becomes friends with the Losers Club, but at her own home, her father is the one in control. One of the most notable scenes is it blasting Beverly with blood, and since blood in stories can be representative of life, this scene could be interpreted as it mocking Beverly with the lack of control she faces in her daily life. The fact that the other losers also see the bloody room and help her clean it, whilst her dad can't, to me was a symbol of her life being better around her friends. However, she does overcome this fear by taking charge later, and that's shown by her home life being so traumatizing that Pennywise doesn't actually frighten her. What Beverly is really afraid of is being alone. You may be surprised when I tell you what my favorite scene in the movie is. It's not the opening, it's not any of the graphic kills or moments where Pennywise is dancing or taunting the kids. It's this. This scene is just the losers hanging out, having fun, and embracing their youth together. There's no darkness that looms over them, and the music gives off a nostalgic feeling of togetherness that we often reminisce on when we enter adulthood. The moments we miss when we had fun with our friends during vacation, the way we would take advantage of having no rules when the adults aren't around. The simple pleasure of being young and not having a care in the world. This is easily the happiest scene in the movie, and it works because the losers are together. And with the addition of Mike later on standing up to the bully Henry Bowers, this is what becomes their tactic in defeating it in the big showdown. When they are together and fighting, it is powerless against them. It reminds us that darkness can exist in the foulest of places and possibly lure us in when we're alone, but when you're together, when you're united, you can be the hero and you can overcome your fear. By focusing on the character journey, Andre Muschietti managed to create a horror film that we don't get to see very often. One where we grow to care and love the characters we're following and wanting to see them defeat Pennywise rather than just waiting for the next big kill. He succeeds at that not by taking every chance to scare us, but through using the theme of fear as a storytelling point. This insists us to overcome what frightens us and above all else, stand united in your experiences, no matter how dark, no matter how terrifying. And there's comfort in knowing that no matter what kind of darkness plagues your life as you get older, it's the people around you who will make sure that you never have to face it alone. Hey guys, welcome back. Stories as Lessons have been away for a month because I've been busy with school stuff, but I hope you guys like my new YouTube display. I wanted to make the show a little more interesting to look at if I'm going to show videos of my face, so yeah, I hope that's great. And just wanted to remind you, there's a number of rewards you can earn by becoming a Patreon, such as requesting new videos and behind-the-scenes stuff like looking at the scripts, and that's all in the description. Thank you so much for checking out this episode, and I will see you next time.